So we're going to start. Welcome everyone to Empathy Week. Hopefully you've been using our resources. Hopefully you've been having fun with the kids, talk about what your spark is. Please do send us any photos, things that happen in your school. We'd love to share them. You can send them through to us at schools at empathy-week.com or just tag us online. But we are here today. Scott has very, very generously given his time from Basingstoke College of Technology. I'm not going to speak too much, but I am just going to say Scott and I have met at an event actually just before summer, Scott, I think it was. And then we chatted, we got speaking, and then Scott was showing me all of the amazing stuff that they do at their college, all the amazing tech actually, and using AI crucially for me and for our organization in a way that can actually enhance empathy. We often see technology and the negativities of it and what it can, or the bad things it can do. But Scott's going to present today how his college are using AI in really powerful ways, in ways that can actually deepen connection and human interaction. So, Scott, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to pass over to you. For everyone else in watching, please use the comments and you can ask questions. There is going to be a 15 to 20 minute period towards the end where you can ask questions. But Scott, over to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ed. And hello, everybody. Hello. So I'm Scott. I'm a teacher. I'm the head of teaching, learning and digital at Basingstoke College of Technology, BCOT. And it's my job at our college to look after all of our teachers. For the last couple of years, that's involved using AI deliberately, mindfully and intentionally to support them, to free them up to do the human bit of the job that can never be replaced by any tech. So the teaching and learning and digital team is what I'm responsible for. And that is comprised of advanced teachers. So teachers who are experienced, who've been around for a while like me, and we coach and observe and train our teachers, and learning technologists, who are people who were students, who became apprentices, and then became learning technologists. Learning coaches pictured at the top there, learning technologists at the bottom. And in your organization, I can't recommend that enough. Utilizing student talent, growing them into apprentices, growing them into members of staff. Done it for the last 10 years with apprentices becoming learning technologists. In terms of empathizing from the perspective of the student view, that's enormously beneficial. Helps us all the time. Amara, Jay and Holly were students, but are now learning technologists, helping us. The learning coaches and the learning technologists sort of live by this principle here, that in an age of technological abundance, what Bo Burnham so wonderfully calls anything and everything all of the time, it is human skills, not soft skills, but human skills, or rather core skills, as the wonderful Girdley and Hard puts it, that are more valuable now than ever. So whenever we're looking to help our teachers, whether it be with technology or just generally in the teaching and learning and assessment practices we look to help them with, it's developing core skills in the staff and students that matter most to us. Is the tech in developing core skills? If it isn't developing those core skills of compassion, originality, responsibility, and empathy, is it really useful? Is it really what we need? Is it really of benefit? Or is it just a whizzy app? We need to be really skeptical about the tech we use. On the right-hand side there, you can see an empathy map. We use this all the time when we are sitting in classrooms observing lessons, when we are talking and coaching with our teachers, empathy mapping and thinking from the perspective of the user, whether that be the staff member or the students, thinking from their view. That helps us to shift our perspective. We have these printed off and we use them all the time whenever we're coaching and observing and helping teachers. And in particular, that's been really useful with AI. So when it came to January, February 2023, we asked one of our student digital leaders to get on the stage and to talk about how they're feeling about AI, because people were using it. No one was overtly talking about it, but it was really early 2023 and people started to talk about it culturally. Like on Good Morning Britain, there was a piece on it. There's a few mobile panics in the media about it. No one had really overtly stated too much about it. So we tried to make it a public conversation at our college. And when Ofsted were visiting us, which was January into February 2023, we had our inset training day. And circled there is Benjamin, one of our student digital leaders, who on the stage announced to everybody, all 150 staff that are teachers, and Ofsted, who were walking around with their clipboards judging us, that all of his fellow students were cheating using ChatGPT, had been for half of a year, and that there was no way the teachers would ever be able to catch them because it gets past all the plagiarism detectors. And that led to something of an existential crisis at our college. It had been said, the thing we all feared. So we, as a college, had a very heated debate and discussion, and we tried to move forward and to test AI ourselves so we could better understand it, so we can then better help our students. That's my daughter. That's Lucy. I did some tests with Lucy. Maths is a bit of a block for us Haydens, and using AI as a way to think from Lucy's perspective to relate maths and what she needed to work on, like ratio or speed or algebra, whatever it might be. Well, using ChatGPT to relate it to Lucy's interests, things like Olivia Rodrigo lyrics, the Wednesday Netflix series, things like using emojis and talking in a chatty, funny way. Using ChatGPT in those early tests helped me to see that actually it was landing, it was connecting, and Lucy was starting to engage with maths in a way I hadn't seen. And between two parents' evenings, we saw her make some gains in the gaps in her maths performance. As our early tests, it was interesting to see the impact in terms of personalization, empathizing from the perspective of the individual. Did it on myself. I used my heroes, George Orwell and David Bowie. Created AI simulations of them, and I chatted with them, tried to get perspectives and to think from different views about my complicated relationship with technology and how I move forward in my career, because I'm worried about the addictive nature of my device. I'm hopelessly addicted to my device. I'm really worried about technology if it's not used with guardrails to help us. So talking to George and David as a then 40-year-old man, I actually found it massively useful. Have that coaching conversation. We started to talk to our students more and more in these testing periods to see how they're using AI and empathizing with the user again, rather than just assuming and projecting. We realized it wasn't actually ChatGPT they were using so much as it was Snapchat AI. That was the most popular tool about 2 years ago. Continues to be very popular. The little green man that lives at the top of their app is available and lives above their friends, in fact, and is ChatGPT powered. And we realized that students 2 years ago were actually using prompts and sharing messages to each other on how to get their assignments done quickly without actually engaging any real cognitive effort. We shared this with our teachers after finding this out from our students because we thought they needed to know what was actually happening. In a user experience that is sticky and frictionless and familiar, students were talking to their AI chatbot, Snapchat, ChatGPT, whatever it might be, as a personalized learning coach that helps them. Well, not so much a coach, more a scribe, someone actually creating it for them to do a lot of their written work. If I just move the text along to the bottom of the chat, just a 5-minute chat, you'll see that in this screen capture, at the bottom of the screen, our students were starting to get quite savvy as to how they inputted prompts to the AI. The message, if you can't see it, reads, "Now add some spelling errors so my teacher doesn't think it's AI." And sure enough, Snapchat AI did that very quickly. This led to even more heated discussions and debates at our college, but ultimately it was needed in the sense that we needed to realize and think from the perspective of the users as to what they are contending with, what they are living with, the temptations, the anxieties of do I, don't I, what's the right way to do it. So we pivoted as a college entirely to more authentic assessment approaches. We've seen this rise of vlogs, of like I'm doing right now, a screencast, as it were, of professional discussions, of team-based tasks with witness statements, of podcasts, of sites and blogs with reflective accounts, with audio transcribed discussions and debates. This mixed multimedia holistic approach to assessment has seen us be able to live alongside the machine a bit healthier, I suppose, a bit more seamlessly, because we aren't overly concerned about AI just writing the essay, because we're not going to be assessing via just the essay. We're a vocational college in North Hampshire in England. So we're more jobs and skills and actually doing the things they need to do in industry. But assessing via podcasts and witness statements, we've seen an enormous rise in this since AI has entered our lives. And again, in those early tests, we've got these insights, empathy mapping with the user, empathy mapping with the students. We have many ESOL learners, which means English speakers of other languages. Our ESOL learners at our college are learning English. And we realized that by using some AI tools, it could be useful to help them learn. They were practicing English skills by putting in some text, and it was generating artworks in different tools, such as Canva's Dreamlab or Midjourney or DALL-E or any number of different AI tools. While I personally am conflicted about AI tools for creating artworks like this, as an educational tool, we saw fascinating uptake with our ESOL learners. They were practicing their English skills to see the artworks they would generate. One learner went even further, and she, using AI tools, generated an interactive virtual Bible study for her church in Winchester. So she generated the story of Genesis from the Old Testament, brought to life Adam and Eve, there they are on the top left there, used AI tools like 11 Labs to give them a voice, as it were. You click on Adam and he'd tell you what went down in the Garden of Eden. She curated and synthesized these AI tools into this interactive virtual Bible study for her church in Winchester in a 360 environment generated using Skylabs and ThingLink, which are other AI tools. And this was May 2023, almost 2 years ago. I continued my experiments to talk to my heroes, AI simulated versions of my heroes, to empathize from different perspectives. So if I wanted to use the great Brené Brown's skills about vulnerability and empathy, I would talk to my AI simulated chatbot of Brené Brown to get her perspective on the strategy I was writing. If I wanted to think about dangers of AI, I would talk to Mustafa Suleiman and his views, or the great Sir Ken Robinson, the AI simulation of him, in relation to creative approaches in the curriculum, or resilience building, talking to Marcus Aurelius. Thinking from these different AI simulated perspectives really helped us. And using AI tools to help us focus our thinking expedited our strategy. And after AI, we had to rethink our strategy, is the truth. This is what we stand for. We've distilled it down to one page now. And again, AI as a sparring partner can help us do that. Empathy-driven leadership is at the heart of what we do. Learner-centric experiences, scaffolded learning, authentic assessments, real-world applications. That's what we want to see. When we observe and coach lessons, that's it. That's what we want to see. So this is what we've been offering for the last year or so, or 2 years now. We've got an AI ethics group that meets every month to talk about, just because we could do all these things, should we do these things? And that's comprised of an IT team, teaching and learning team, my team, and the data protection officer. And the three teams meet up every month to minute these discussions, these quite heated discussions, but massively useful. It's not just me being responsible then, it's the team, you know? Endless curriculum training. We gave prompts to our teachers, more of which in a minute. The prompts are the quality of the written instruction. We wrote prompts and gave them to our teachers to use and showed them how to use them, particularly for planning. Policies and procedures, posters in every single staff room about how to write a good prompt, and a responsibility checklist. But one-to-one support, that's where the real work gets done. Webinars like this are wonderful in terms of reaching a large amount of people at once, but the coaching and one-to-ones that follow up afterwards is where a lot of the real work gets done. It was February 2023 where, after Benjamin had got on the stage and was the whistleblower about AI really at our college. We started to see some staff sort of dab their toe, as it were, and give it a go. Chris Swain is a hospitality chef lecturer. He's brilliant at being a chef, at being a lecturer, just a really good bloke. Everyone loves him. But he's really not very organized when it comes to his planning. And every year he gets chased for his planning. Chris was in a bit of a tight spot because in February of 2023, he and his partner had twins, which meant he was a bit sleep deprived and short of time. But in his office, he had bits of paper and notes and menus straggled about. We used Google Lens. Microsoft Lens does the same thing to photograph bits of paper, the post-its, the menus that were around his office, which turns it into text. We then gave that text to the AI tool. We use Google Gemini at our college. And in 2.5 hours, after talking to Gemini, we asked it to create objectives, starters, plenaries, to reference safeguarding, to make sure that we are stretching and challenging our learners. In 2.5 hours, Chris had completed his planning for the year. And it made us think we've got something here. So we moved forward. Here are 8 quick stories of staff that have benefited since those early tests. Claire from business joined us after being out of teaching for 20 years and rejoined at the time we were testing and using AI. She used it quite a bit to help her by planning. Canva, free to us in education. Massively recommend it. If you're not using Canva, then talk to your head of digital IT to turn it on. You can give a PDF or PowerPoint or whatever it might be to Canva, and you can convert it into different file types. So, for example, a Word document can become a PowerPoint very quickly. You can convert it into different languages. You can convert it into step-by-step guides at different levels. You even have a tool called Canva Dream Lab, which is in the bottom right-hand corner, which is a safe for 13 plus students tool for learners to practice using AI. GDPR compliance and free for staff and students. Canva is a magnificent tool. The convert feature in particular is very popular, and Claire uses that all the time to take her documents and to turn them into PowerPoints, take her files and to turn them into lessons. Another tool that Claire really adopted well was Goblin.tools, which if you've never tried any AI tool, Goblin.tools might be the first one to try because there's no sign-in needed. It's on a website. You can do it in another tab as you're watching this if you like. Type in goblin.tools and then the formalizer. The formalizer enables you to put in some half-formed thoughts in the top and then to press the convert button. And sure enough, it will convert it for you into more professional language, more formal language, more polite, or more grammatically correct, or easier to read, or more sarcastic, whatever you choose. And it helps you to adapt your text. You can even turn the chilies up, the heat up to make it extra spicy as well. In terms of report writing, in terms of feedback, in terms of instruction, teachers have been using this widely, and Claire was one of our biggest adopters when she joined us. Steve heads up our construction department, and in his area, he's got lots of members of staff who have dyslexia or other learning needs, who are brilliant practitioners and have been working in the industry successfully, but the admin of being teachers can sometimes drown them. Again, empathy mapping from the perspective of the teacher, we were able to see what their pain and gain was, what their stresses and worries were with AI. And by empathy mapping with his team, we realized that we needed to give them training and to show them how they can use it to save their evenings and weekends. So we're stressing about the admin, report writing, planning, things like this. Gemini we turned on for all staff in May 2023. We turned on the student version of Gemini, which is suitable for 13 years and up, from September of 2024. But crucially, it was staff that were trained first. And Steve and his construction team were using Gemini a lot. In fact, when we gave the planning document to all of the staff at the beginning of May 2023, we put this statement at the very front. Essentially, it says, it's not naughty to use AI for planning. In fact, we encourage you to use AI for planning, but you are accountable. Sense check everything. We gave the prompts to all teachers. So Steve and his construction team, they had this prompt, which they copied, put into Gemini, and then they filled in the blanks. How many minutes long is the lesson? What course specification is it? What subject specialism is it? What subject areas or certain areas are you keen to include within this? By filling in the blanks, which are in the square brackets there on the left-hand side, staff were generating schemes of work, lesson plans, the likes of which we'd never seen. I've been here 15 years at this college. We've never had our planning in place for September before. But in May 2023, September 2023, staff got it done. And staff, more importantly, were coming back in September 2023 after the summer and saying to us, I actually had a summer this year because that prompt did my planning alongside me. And it's more formal, giving me new ideas, helped me to think from different perspectives. And Sam in construction, one of Steve's team, who has dyslexia and struggles sometimes with planning, a brilliant teacher, but struggles with planning sometimes, created the best schemes of work, what we call sequences of learning. By using those prompts, she created the exemplar, the best one that we now share across the college and at events like this, which means she's more free to be more present doing her painting and decorating, coaching and mentoring in the classroom, which really is what Sam wants to focus on, not bloody admin. This is good. Faff-free maths. Faff-free maths. So what you do with this is you take the prompt, you put it into Gemini, and it generates maths-related tasks that connect to your subject. So you grab the prompt, you pop it into Gemini, then it wakes up and it says, hello, I am Faff-free Maths. What's your subject area? I'll relate your subject area to whatever area of maths you like. And sure enough, it does. So this week, we're looking at rounding and estimation at the college. That's the topic in our maths lessons around the college. Our teachers are able to take Faff-free Maths, pop it into Gemini, and it will generate tasks, activities that relate specifically to the student's subject specialism, making it relevant, making it undeniable to our bricklaying students, for example. James is an automotive. He's brilliant. James uses AI to help alleviate the stresses and anxieties of feeling overwhelmed as a brand new teacher. He found when he joined us for the first time 2 years ago, he started teaching, that his students were worried because they had so many practical tasks to do and they didn't know how to do their write-ups for their automotive motor vehicle assessments. They have to sort of dissect the car, as it were, and figure out what the issue is, what the problem is. Using AI, James was able to create examples, exemplars of what good ones look like for his students, which alleviates the anxiety of his students because they can see the lighthouse, the North Star that they're aiming at, what a good one looks like. And James, for all of his assessments, he goes, don't worry, you lot, here's what a good one looks like. Here's what you're aiming at, which frees him up to be more present in the workshop, to have those one-to-ones and coaching conversations, and to create, as you can see on the right-hand side there, more demos, more videos, more examples of hands-on practical tasks that students really want to do. James has grown in confidence over the 2 years he's been with us. He now shares in our group chats. We've got a Google chat where we share all best practice as teachers. And James found a really cool one about a month ago called napkin.ai. With napkin.ai, you can create a flowchart or a step-by-step instructional guide, but just by asking it to create a flowchart or instructional guide on any topic you like. So whether it be airbag removal, which James does for his automotive guys, or Tom in animal management did it in relation to category 1 dangerous animals, or, and this happened in the same week, Richard Harris jumps in there on the right-hand side about his IT students. And then English, GCSE, we're using it to create visuals for explaining structure. Napkin.ai spread through the college because one teacher found it and shared it. Lovely. Always better when it comes from the teachers. Notebook LM is the big one, though, that James uses. Notebook LM is a tool whereby you can give your files, a PowerPoint, a document, a website, to the AI. And then crucially, the AI will only talk to those files in that walled garden. Won't go beyond it. It will just talk and play within that space. Really useful for education. That way you can be sure and certain that it's not hallucinating with any old nonsense. James makes notebooks for each of his units for his students to talk to, so they've got chatbots for each unit. On Notebook LM, you can also create an audio overview, a podcast of your files. So AI voices that sound pretty fluent, to be honest with you. A male and a female AI voice talk in a podcast style, giving an overview of your files. James generates those overviews for his students every week to adapt learning for them because many of them can't be in the workshop or classroom every week. Many of his learners have complex home lives and diverse learning needs. One such learner is a young carer. And while he presents as a tough and gruff individual, he's actually gutted that he can't come into class every week because he has to be responsible looking after his mum. James adapts his learning by using Notebook LM, creates an audio podcast every week for that learner. So when that learner is traveling on the bus to their part-time job or at home washing up, because they're looking after the house, as well as being an automotive student, he can listen to the audio overview and keep up with the learning he's missed that week. Sharon also uses Notebook LM with her early years childcare students. Notebook LM is a really powerful research tool. What was really interesting working with these learners is how they found it as a way to maintain academic integrity and to help them talk directly to certain files and extract what they needed from certain files and to focus their learning rather than it being too disparate and overwhelming. One learner who has ADHD says that actually it helped her, as it says here, ADHD has impacted my academic career due to execution function issues and organizational skills, but Notebook LM helped her to focus, she says, in a way that was previously difficult for her, helped her to laser beam her attention on what she needed to focus on using this research assistant. What this group did was really interesting as well because they started to go a bit further. And Sharon and her early year students were using AI prompts to bring to life AI simulations of the theorists that they were talking about. So if they're talking about Jean Piaget or, I don't know, Lev Vygotsky, they can chat to Lev Vygotsky. And then an AI simulated version of them will be able to go back and forth and argue and talk and justify and give sources, which we always, of course, double check. Really crucial to do that. But to bring to life a PowerPoint and to have that back and forth of an AI simulated version of the theorist or thinker, it's really elevated the learning in that group. Daniel, good old Daniel from maths. He's been great at using different tools, in particular, like Century. He's a big champion of. Century is a machine learning maths and English tool whereby it creates a personalized dashboard of learning for the learners. So they can actually see where their blind spots are, areas they need to improve upon, helps them to get personalized instruction, interactive self-marking, quizzes and games and learning. But crucially, generates for the teacher a dashboard of where they need to focus their attention in class. Massively useful. So the students come into Daniel's class and he can bring up the dashboard and see, we need to focus on algebra this week, or we need to work on speed and ratio, I see, because your dashboard shows me that's the area we need to pick up on. Helps us to spend our more human time focused on what matters. That's our principle there. Anthony, he gives out chicken nuggets to the learners because they like chicken nuggets if they complete a string of Century questions, which are also called nuggets. Anthony's poster has been quite a big success, and we've seen a massive sort of spike in people using Century to help revise. Another thing that's been really useful, and Daniel's helped us massively with this in his use of Century and using AI in general, is prompts. Teachers want prompts for different things, whether it be explaining things to me like I'm 10 years old, adapt it to interests that I have, or give me a glossary and give me simple examples, display it in a table. Daniel's been helping us to create these prompts, and teachers have been helping us to create prompts. So we've now got a massive document which has got loads of prompts, and Daniel is one of the teachers that's really helped us with that. The most popular prompts at the college is this one here. You take these prompts and you put it into Gemini or Copilot, Claude, whatever you're using, and you fill in the blanks. So Tim was a learner in engineering who was struggling, but when he used this prompt with his student support assistant, this learner who has Asperger's syndrome and ADHD and was struggling to engage with the maths formulations on the whiteboard that the teacher was working on, found that he was able to, first of all, photograph what was on the board using his Chromebook, and then relate it to Tim's favorite topic, which is cars. The Dodge 2015 is his favorite car. So by taking the topic from the board, photographing it, giving it to AI, and saying, relate this to my favorite topic, make it easy to understand, give me images, and make it connect, because that lesson's boring. Make it interesting to me and my topic. Sure enough, that maths lesson, in that engineering lesson that he was in, started to connect using examples of the chassis, the speed, the acceleration, the design of the Dodge 2015. Using this prompt, we're able to take any topic and connect it in a way that lands and makes sense to the learners. So it might be explaining metaphors and similes, but using the rap lyrics of Central C or Kendrick Lamar. We're able to take a topic and connect it and relate it. Patrick in barbering, some wonderful stuff. So Pat uses Gemini in particular. And he had loads of ESOL learners, English speakers of other languages, join, in particular Ukrainian refugees. And he had some Farsi speakers as well join. Using Canva, he was able to translate his resources quickly and adapts them for his learners to give them a little taste of home and to help them with instruction when they joined very quickly and abruptly last year. We were able to, with our principal, translate him using AI to give a little well-being check, a little empathetic hello and welcome to the college using AI tools. This is my principal, a man who can only speak one language, I can assure you. The same message translated a few times. Here he is talking Portuguese.
Oi, sou Anthony Bravo, diretor do Basingstoke College of Technology, e estou feliz em receber nossos novos alunos. Valorizamos a diversidade.
And just quickly, Turkish.
Merhaba, adım Anthony Bravo ve Basingstoke Teknoloji Koleji'nin müdürüyüm.
You get the idea. He has students coming up to him in the corridors trying to talk Turkish and Portuguese, and he has to apologize and say, yeah, I can only speak English, sorry. This is Jack. Jack is one of a new generation of educators at the college, a generation that values their well-being, values the boundaries in terms of not taking too much work home with them, values his health, his mental and physical health, and uses AI to streamline his life and to make him more present and able to be at his best in the classroom and not be overwhelmed with too much admin. I'm a bit inspired by this generation and people like Jack, because I definitely didn't do that for myself when I was coming up. But luckily, I'm in a position to help this next generation use AI to free up their time, which I'm honored to do. Quiz is Jack's favorite. Quizzes is really good. Quizzes, you can give a YouTube video to it or a website or a Word document, and it will generate a self-marking, interactive, engaging quiz for you. You can make interactive videos in Quizzes as well. It's wonderful. In terms of quick checks on learning, Quizzes is very good. You can even make a quiz on, I don't know, photosynthesis, but relate it to, I don't know, a particular woods local to your students, or you can relate it to something really granular and specific, that is memorable to your learners. Their favorite football team, their favorite TV show, their favorite video game character. That personalization, that empathy mapping with the user. Quiz is, and many of these AI tools can do that now. The free tools can do that now. This year in September, we created a driver's license for AI for our students, essentially. There's our principal again. The students had to spot deep fakes of Anthony, their principal. Which one was the real Anthony? They had to engage in interactive, critical thinking activities about AI. This was important to us. The students are going to need an ability to think critically about this overwhelm of the senses when it comes to AI and technology. And creating these technologies and checking them is crucial from an educational viewpoint, from my perspective. We have a duty of care. So this statement here is front and center of all we do with AI. We have zero tolerance for counterfeiting human likeness. A student can't take text, audio, image, or video and then use it to create a deep fake or a version of somebody else without there being the strictest disciplinary procedures. We've seen this happen at other schools and colleges. We have zero tolerance on it at our college, and we state that in this module they complete in week 1. All students complete this in week 1, an AI module, a driver's license as to how to use AI the right way. Self-marking, pointers, do's and don'ts. We're trying. Of course, not all learners are going to 100% learn everything and then be perfect forever from that point on, but we can only control what we can control, right? Currently 1,200 is what we're up to, but we need to do better than that. The last one, Louise. Louise is an engineering teacher who she even created this graphic I'm about to put on the screen for you. She uses AI to enhance her life and learning for her learners, whether it be frameworks for her learners as to how to complete assignments, whether it be helping with marking, whether it be with planning, whether it be with resource and scenario creation. She uses it wonderfully. This prompt she created with Rawan, one of her students, a revision prompt. So Rawan, turns out her dad worked on the Airbus A380. That was her favorite plane when she was growing up as a little girl. So they made this prompt relating her subject, T-level engineering, to the topic she needs to study, which is the fluid flow of aerodynamics, and then relate it to her interest, which is the Airbus A380. Of course, you can swap out what's in the brackets there to whatever you want. But that helped Rawan to revise in a personalised way. So Louise really supported Rawan well, creating that prompt. Louise and I have been doing tests with feedback for students as well. We've found that by using AI to sense check our feedback, we're getting interesting results. I run our education and training courses, and I use AI to help me enhance my feedback. Don't do essays these days, to be honest with you, only when I need to. One of the assignments is a professional discussion. I can give the transcript, the text that comes with the video call, to the AI, and it can mark it for me. And what I found to be really interesting was that a lot of the times my assumptions were wrong. For example, Tamara, after marking her professional discussion, I realized that she hadn't achieved 9 out of 9 like I thought. The AI marked her 7 out of 9 passed. That's correct. The AI said to me that she had described and not analysed, hadn't given enough detail. I went back and forth and argued with the AI, but the truth is, AI was right when I reflected on it. I was tired. I didn't want to have to mark a resubmission if I could avoid it. Tamara was going through something in her personal life and I didn't want to overwhelm her. It was like the 16th bit of work I'd marked that evening. And also my kids were being loud through the wall of the office I was marking the work. So there were 5 reasons why me, a flawed, tired, middle-aged man, would tilt the score one particular way. Unconsciously, my bias was doing that. The AI as a sparring partner is helping me to sense check. Just tests at the moment, but interesting. I observe and coach our teachers. And when I do, I make loads of notes when I observe the lessons. but we use AI to help us formalize the reports, which frees us up to be a bit more present in those one-to-ones with our teachers, which really is what the feedback's about. Using AI for formalization, for structuring, as a sparring partner, is giving our teachers back time. That's really what this is all about. Teacher well-being, thinking from the perspective of the teachers and the students and how they might learn to live alongside the machine, intentionally, deliberately, and mindfully. Just over a year or 2 years later, Benjamin, the student digital leader who was the whistleblower, he's now been employed by the college. He's now an assistant learning technologist. He was featured on the BBC recently talking about his journey. There he is in his blue suit, look. And that's my daughter there, Lucy. 2 years later, every week, Fred helps her. That's the chatbot we've created to close those gaps, to personalize learning for her. It's useful if used deliberately and intentionally, and never a replacement for the teacher. How could it possibly be? An enhancement, an augmentation, a way to free up time for me, a tired dad, and for her teacher to have more time focused on the bits that actually she wants to focus on. There might be something there. We've measured this over 2 years. There's something there if we use it the right way. In terms of time saving for teachers, over 5 hours a week is what we've reported 2 years running. As a sparring partner, as something to help give time and energy back to our teachers, massively useful. In terms of students personalizing learning and connecting to their interests, there's something there. Thank you everybody for your time this afternoon and your attention.
Scott, thank you so much. You can see some of the reactions there. Please show Scott some love in the comments as well. God, just an absolute steamroller through the useful parts of AI, because it can be so overwhelming. I know with me and the team, we're trying to still get to grips with it. We use it a little bit, but seeing the benefits, I think the stats at the end there really show, if you're saving nearly 6 hours a week, 5.5 hours a week, it is just absolutely incredible. We've got loads of questions, as you'd expect. I don't really know where to start. I'll kind of start from this, and we can take them off. And please, we've got some time, so do ask some questions if you can. This will be available on Catch Up until the end of March as well, so we'll make sure we send it out to everyone. But one question we've got that's coming through: what challenges, if any, have you come across in terms of safeguarding young people with AI, and how did you overcome them? I think that was asked quite early on, so you've kind of alluded to it in various ways. But if there's anything to add in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for your kindness, everybody. And Ed, thank you for the opportunity to share. It's a massive honor, mate. It's lovely. An AI ethics group can't just be one person's responsibility. So the IT team, teaching and learning team, and the GDPR team sit and we decide. We've got a 3-tick process. Can't use these tools unless it gets IT, teaching and learning, GDPR. Google Gemini is a sandbox that is safe and secure for us to play in for our 13 plus learners. And we've got an agreement with Google in that Gemini is not going to train our staff data to train the machine. In fact, Microsoft Copilot has a similar agreement with its educational licenses. So whether you're Google or Microsoft, Copilot and Gemini are there, available now to be used. Canva is similar in that it's 13 plus compliance from a GDPR perspective. But those 3 checks, IT, teaching and learning, GDPR, are crucial. And then it alleviates the anxiety of one person being responsible. Because I had panic attacks in that first year thinking, bloody hell, I'm doing all this stuff, but what if I'm wrong? What if it's a naughty product that's going to use the data and come back to bite me on the bum, as it were? But I realized that it's not. I've got to stop being worried because GDPR have signed it off. I trust those guys. IT have signed it off. So it's not just me, one person. So the 3-tick process is what I recommend for that.
Amazing. And then this question actually links to it, because you've mentioned some of the sites that are more secure there. Which safeguarding checks do you do on each AI site before introducing them to your students? Or is it, again, it's what you've just alluded to, it's the safeguarding
Yeah.
team, it's the GDPR, it's the tech team?
You got it. And it's the truth is we can only control what we can control. And the truth is, I wish all this AI stuff was not here right now, ideally, but it's here. And I can't pretend this isn't happening. Our students have been using it without guardrails for years. The Snapchat example horrified us when we realized what was happening. So we had to realize we've got to be proactive and try our best to role model, to give support, guardrails, and parameters for them to learn how to use it the right way. We can't just tut and put our hands on our hips and shake our head about this. We need to think, well, what can we do to help them use it the right way? Because if you do use it the right way, it can supercharge learning. I, as a 42-year-old man, I'm learning more now than I've ever learned in my life using AI. This is the most exciting time in the history of education. I believe that. And if we can use it the right way with students, it changes everything.
Absolutely. Really quick one. Do you need to use Google Workspace for Gemini, or can you use it with Office 365?
So if you use an Office 365 Copilot, it's probably the best one for you to use. Same difference, really. We were a Google reference college. We use Google tools, have done since 2016. So that's why we went with Gemini, because that was also, it's just more user friendly. It looks like Google. People know how to use Google. So that user experience is really good there. But Copilot, which is Microsoft's equivalent, is really good. Like you can do very similar things with it. So just use Copilot if you're a Microsoft 365 school or college. But you can use Gemini with your personal Gmail account or Google account. So give that a go as well, by all means.
Amazing. And then someone's asked, how can you learn to write good prompts?
Yeah, there's a way to do it. In the chat, I'll give you an idea. So the first part is to give it a persona. Tell it to act in a particular way. So
Or
you are,
Scott, sorry to interrupt, you're only writing to host and panelists, so if you
ah,
change to everyone, then they'll
yeah, I'll do
see.
that. I'll do that
Yeah,
now. So persona. So give it tell it how to behave. You are George Orwell. You act as George Orwell. That is a particular persona, a role. Tell it how to behave. And then you need to give it an aim. What is it going to do? So you are going to create for me a health and safety guide. You are going to give me 4 paragraphs on the topic of AI in education that are succinct and clear. Then you need to think about who the recipients are. Who is this for? Who's the audience? This is for 14 to 16-year-olds who are studying GCSE English in an English secondary school, who are disillusioned with English and don't see the point in it, and you need to make it relevant to their lives. That's very clear recipients, who it's for, who the audience is. The more specific, the better. Then we go to the T, which is theme. What's the theme of this? Is it light-hearted? Is it fun? Is it professional? Is it formal? Is it informal? And then lastly, structure. Is it going to be in bullet points, a table? Is it going to be in an essay? Is it going to be as an email? What's the structure of it? This framework, the parts framework, is broadly speaking how to write a good prompt, but trial and error. But also don't feel a need to do that every time you do a prompt. I often start just with a general input. Like I need to um, add a bit to my strategy. Can you help me? It's about my digital strategy. I need to refine a bit because there's this tool I want to test. I'll start just with something broad, but then crucially, I add the chat underneath. It's a back and forth. It's a tennis match. You go back and forth, collaborate, and then you start to get the good stuff. It's not one and done. You've got to collaborate. It's a sparring partner, a thought partner.
Scott, I've seen some things where people have actually used AI to help them make the prompt in the first place. Is
There you
that
go. That's a great idea. So how about this? You are a prompt engineer. You are excellent at making prompts, particularly that relate to empathy and education. And then the aim. You're going to make a prompt that is optimal in terms of making lesson plans that are relevant for 13-year-olds who are at school in Vietnam who are studying geography. And then you go further down the parts framework. But absolutely, tell it you are a prompt engineer. Make a prompt for me.
Amazing. Very quick one, and then I'll go on. Is there a discount for Copilot or Gemini for schools?
I think it's free. Gemini is completely free for schools, colleges, universities using Google Workspace. 13 plus student account is free. It's available now. I recommend using this because it's the safest, most secure AI tool that we've found so far. I'm happy to connect you to our friends at Google if you're interested in that. If you don't, the students will go to the black market and use tools without any guardrails. Chances are they're doing that already. As annoying as it is, this is here. We've got to try and control what we can. Copilot, again, is free. It's available as part of your educational accounts. Speak to your digital lead, your IT lead. It's free. It's there now. And it's secure and safe as much as it can be. Of course, it's important we train our staff not to put any GDPR sensitive information in there. But the truth is, it's as secure and safe as it can be, as a walled garden, as it were, where the staff can play and get to grips with this superpower.
Amazing. I've just reshared because I'm going to be using a slide in a minute, Scott. But just as you mentioned there, people can get in touch with you and are able to, message you about that connection as well. I'll actually just come out of share for a second just to get the other questions going. So please do ask. We've still got a few more questions to answer. This one is an interesting one as well. Why should we have to use AI when there should just be a better work-life balance?
Yeah, shame, isn't it? But hey, the lived reality of me working as a teacher, as somebody who coaches teachers, who helps observe all of our 80 different subject areas with a team of learning coaches and technologists, is complex. And this is where the world I find myself in. Ideally, the work-life balance and the respect and income of educators would be of the highest, most importance culturally. But talking to you at this time in 2025 from an English further education college, funding, support, love, well-being isn't necessarily safeguarded and protected as much as I think, and clearly you think it should be. I can only control what I can control. And what I can control is giving AI support to staff so they can have some evenings and weekends free, so they can be better in their jobs and happier in their jobs and happier in their lives. I can control that, and I've tried my best to try and do that.
Amazing. I think in a year or two's time, you might be talking about retention of staff at a conference soon, Scott.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, mate.
Yeah. But we've got a couple more questions. How can you tell if students have been using AI in the wrong way, for example, faking work, and how do you crack down on this?
You can't tell. Can't tell. So we create authentic assessments, like professional discussions, witness statements of them actually carrying out the task, reflective blogs and sites, and mixed media like images, video, and audio. Professional discussions. There's different ways of assessing that are beyond the written format. And even then, they may use AI to augment their thinking. What we can do is change assessment to focus more on the process rather than obsessing about the product. And that's something we are trying our best. Yeah, that's how we feel about it. It's tough. Of course, there's a place for explaining yourself in a written format. Articulating your thoughts is such a valuable skill. In terms of capturing that, controlled assessments that are offline with a certain amount of time is something that a lot of schools and colleges are going back to. But we here are using AI as a research assistant, as a tool to help them, prepare them, and to use as a sparring partner. So when it comes to the assessment is authentic enough and holistic enough to get a real snapshot of their skills developments. And if it isn't doing that, then maybe the assessment needs to change. Strange times we live in.
Absolutely. We've got time for two more questions. Someone's also asked, and they've put this in the chat to me, do you think this could work with RSE and other PSHE subjects also?
Yeah, absolutely. Jack, from our example there, he is a RAP tutor, retention and progression tutor, so pastoral essentially, citizenship. And yes, I think it lends itself beautifully because it's not going anywhere. And to show them how to use it the right way to research, to revise, to help them as a life coach almost to think, can clarify their thinking about particular topics. That's what Jack does and what the other rap tutors do at our college. Show them how to use it to help them. Of course, a lot of students will go off on weird side trails and explore and be silly with it. This is overwhelming. It's ridiculous what we're trying to do with bottle this lightning, but we can only, again, control what we can control. And Jack does a masterful job at doing that, actually. Just continually reminding them of the fact that to use digital skills well is massively important. And if you can do that, then on your CV, the reference from us as a college saying you can use digital well will help you in your future career. And if you can use AI well, then in particular, a lot of employers will be looking twice at you.
Absolutely. And last question, Scott, from Paula, is that she said, can you please return to the slide and just elaborate on how you could potentially use the empathy map that we've got here?
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely. So, you know, it's like, even though we like to, hopefully being on this call, we're exhibiting that we value empathy, and Empathy Week is this celebration of this part of humanity. But when we're tired, or we're perhaps frustrated, or perhaps we are at the end of our tether with someone's behavior, we can project and transfer our own wishes, desires, anxiety, stresses onto them. What the empathy map does is gives us a constant reminder to shift our perspective, be out of ourselves onto them. And we literally print it off and fill in with a pen, old school, what are they thinking and feeling about AI? So what we did was early is we worked with some naysayers, let's say, with AI and said, what do you think and feel about AI? They go, oh, it's just coming to take our jobs. It's scary. It's too much. And by putting that in there, helps us to think, well, they're worried. They're scared. So we've got to go slow. What do they see? They see news reports on websites saying, don't touch this. They're going to plagiarize. So that again helps us think, well, they're worried and stressed. We need to show them other ways, maybe. What do they hear? They hear students using it without any support. Well, that makes us think, well, maybe we should try and support the students then. What do they say and do? By getting actual quotes, writing it down, journaling essentially is what empathy mapping is, helps us to really think and then to show with another member of our team, this is what they said. Helps us to think objectively and triangulate about it rather than in the moment just project in a quick solution-based approach what we think should solve the problem. Helps us to coach rather than mentor, I suppose. And the pain and gain, what's the issue, the block, the stress, the anxiety? And what can they stand to gain from this if they use it the right way? It helps us to really think what they're feeling, thinking, and seeing. And that helps us adapt things accordingly. So those 8 stories I shared with you, all of them went through an empathy mapping process. They weren't aware of it. We were doing it in our clipboards or on our iPads. We didn't actually overtly share it with them. Sometimes I'm at a stage now, I've been doing it so many years, I internalize it and go through those quadrants. But for our new members of our team, they sometimes write it out physically as a way just to take a beat and think how they're feeling. And that's how we use it.
Yeah, it's amazing. If I can add on to that as well, I mean, Empathy Studios and Empathy Week, we have a framework: empathy for myself, empathy for others, and empathy in action. And how I would also suggest using this is actually you change the map. So you have 2 maps, and you start with the empathy for myself. So what am I thinking, feeling? What do I see? What do I hear?
That's
What
nice.
do I say and do? And that gets all of the ideas of. It's very easy to do it from a personal perspective because you know how you're thinking, feeling, doing, and then you can bring in another character. And because you've put all of what you're thinking, feeling, doing, seeing, experiencing there, it actually takes away, because we can still empathizing with someone that's completely different from you is still difficult, and you're never 100% going to be able to do it. But if you can identify yourself first and how you're feeling, you actually then can check when you're doing it about someone else, oh, am I actually adding sort of my own
that's
bias
good.
into this? So that's what we tend to do as well. So that's
I
just
like that. I'm gonna take that, mate. That's really useful.
there we go. Look, here we go. See, so we're at the end. I can't believe it. We're a little bit over. Please, I'm just going to flick through these amazing slides that Scott's done. I know that you'll all be giving him a round of applause. It's just an absolute masterclass in how to use AI. But there's just one thing I want to ask from you. It is just to please scan the QR code or go to slido.com and just give us some feedback, because this genuinely really does help us. It lets us know what was useful, what you want to know more about, how we can bring you better events. But I'm just going to say, Scott, this has been so useful, so beneficial. I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to be watching this back, using it, getting in touch. I hope I'm actually going to create more work for you with the amount of people that might reach out to you. But yeah, they've got your LinkedIn in the chat. I think you've put that there in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn's a really good way to stay in touch, actually. LinkedIn preferable to email, now I think about it out loud. It's just nicer to chat that way. Yeah,
Great.
Ed, I just want to thank you again for the opportunity. What a pleasure it is to share, and I massively believe in what you guys are doing. And it's it's lovely that, thinking when we met, Leeds, was it, or London?
Yeah, it was Leeds. Yeah.
And the fact we're here now is a beautiful thing. So again, I really appreciate you.
No, and thank you, everyone. This will stay open. This feedback will stay open once the webinar closes. So please do scan it. Scott, you can see there's people in the chat now, both to us and to everyone, saying thank you. Someone's just put the best CPD for years. So,
Dion Seagrove, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone. Really appreciate your time. Thanks to everyone watching on Catch Up as well. Hope you have an amazing empathy week, and we'll see you all soon.